I'm Peter Renz. I'm a mathematician by training, and I've taught in colleges like Wellesley, for example. But most of the time, I work as an editor.
I'm James. I'm a microbiologist. I work in the biotech industry here in Boston. I work in bioagriculture, developing new sustainable pesticides to feed the planet.
My name is Mary. Very similar to James, I'm a molecular biologist. I work in a different agricultural biopesticide company, also trying to help and promote growth in America's agriculture.
Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Lukáš Matav. I'm a scientist at MIT. At the Whitehead Institute, we do biomedical research.
I'm a biomedical research scientist, and we're funded mostly with NIH grants.
I'm Chris. I'm a biochemist, and I kind of work at the intersection of a lot of different fields in chemistry and molecular biology. I'm here because I am probably alive today because of the developments in science, from pharmaceuticals like antibiotics and vaccines, and also because what I'm able to do today is only made possible because of public funding of science.
The recent change in NIH support has had a really destructive effect on science. It's caused labs to close. It's also had a really bad effect on the young generation. A lot of colleges, universities have closed their graduate research programs, and so a lot of people who want to become scientists are not able to do that. And I'm worried we're going to lose a generation of scientists for the future. It's really devastating. We have grants under review. I'm also on the study section, and so the study section that I'm on was cancelled. And so not only is my grant not getting reviewed, but also the grants that I'm reviewing are not getting reviewed. And then worse than that, the NIH review system happens in two stages. There's an initial stage to get a score, and then a second meeting that actually decides on funding. And the second meeting, called council, is cancelled. All of them are cancelled. So 0 NIH grants right now are being funded. It's completely devastating. But it's devastating for scientists at all career stages. It's really obviously bad for the junior scientists, but even the senior scientists, because running a research lab is like running a small business. Is that you have to obtain grant funding to make payroll every week, and if the grant funding disappears, you can't make payroll, and as a result, you end up having to do layoffs. When you do layoffs, you actually are laying off the expertise in the lab. And so you can't snap back afterwards. You may be able to recruit somebody, say, a year from now, but they won't have any of the expertise that's needed to do the work. In addition to right now, when we recruit research technicians, a lot of them are wanting to go on with their careers, and it's very common for a tech maybe would work in the lab for, say, 2 years, and then apply to go to medical school, or they would apply to do a PhD, and all of those people are getting really demoralized. They don't see a future in science. They worry about their own job now, and they worry that if they continue, put all this time, say, into a PhD, that there's going to be no employment in the future. It's really demoralizing.
The attack on NIH as an institution, in terms of cutting the budget for science, decreasing the overhead, and also complicating the visa status for a lot of international students and trainees who can and contribute to the U.S. science are one of the policies that I think are having the most impact on our community.
I think we're going to lose an entire generation of scientists, and that means that we're going to lose generations of new innovation in pharmaceuticals, agriculture, all sorts of STEM. We're not going to be an innovative economy anymore because we're going to lose out on all of the discoveries. And basic science, maybe you're not researching something that is going to have a direct impact today, but that is the foundational knowledge of everything that we have as a society. And so without that, we're not going to advance at all.
I'm here today, first and foremost, because I'm a scientist, but I actually worked at the NIH for 2 years. It's really upsetting what my friends are going through. They tell me every day, they tell me about the emails they get, the communication errors, they aren't allowed to do their jobs. They say, oh, you can buy stuff. Just kidding, you can't use your credit cards anymore. And people who were promised federal jobs due to the way that they are provided, they are on contracts that are supposed to be renewed. These are people who have worked at the NIH for 10 years more. They built lives there. There isn't a huge amount like that. The NIH is one of the biggest biotech and biology institutions in that area. There aren't other places for people to get these jobs, and so they would have to uproot their lives. And these are people who are just trying to do their jobs, do their part to figure out things like cures for cancer or maintaining systems that outside of the government, people in academia and industry use every single day, and people outside this country, without which we would either have to pay exorbitant fees for or just not have access to in general.
I know something about this because I've served on NSF panels judging things, and the initial axe was against indirect costs. They are sometimes quite outrageously high. They are capped by the NSF. Institutions should try to reduce those, but that should be done in a surgical way, not just across the board. So what's wrong with this is that there's no process to it. There's no real attempt to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. It's just an attempt to slash the government and science, which is a mistake. It's not a sensible thing to do.
Luckily, I'm done with all of my scientific training and I'm in private industry, so I'm not today directly impacted, but I would never have been able to complete my PhD or my postdoctoral training the way I did if in the current environment. And that, the number of brilliant minds we're going to lose in this country because of these types of policies is just horrible.
But every single thing that the NIH does has a useful purpose. They have a research hospital that patients who have rare diseases or can't afford treatment can try and get diseases treated. They determine what research is going to be the most potentially changing for people, and they fund that. And they also do research on the campus itself. And having all of that expertise in one place, it's really a hub of American science and biotechnology science and American health. And it's been really hard watching what's happening there to the people I love and the science I love.
I appreciate the importance of science, particularly in things like public health. Clean water, has saved countless lives. And when you're ignorant of what is required, as the people were in Flint, Michigan, they didn't realize switching to river water would cause a terrible problem, and it did. So if you're ignorant of science, you likely put people at danger, and that's why I think it's really important for the government to support science.
I would ask people to take a minute, just think, what would happen if the tap water wasn't coming out, or if they couldn't tell if it was contaminated, or the same with their food, or if the antibiotics that they were relying on for keeping their children healthy were no longer available, or the doctors could no longer prescribe them because they were afraid of being sued. When all of these basic elemental things that you really go throughout life just expecting to work aren't present anymore, or they aren't working, think about the impact that can have on you, the people that you know, your community, the people you care about. And when you think about that, imagine that there are hundreds of millions of people who are also in the same position.
Well, first, which is what we are doing today, is protesting, showing publicly that this is not okay, that it jeopardizes the entire enterprise and achievements that science brought to the community, US and globally. And second, to contact our political representatives and try to, convince them that we need to reverse these changes that are happening. And third, to explain to the general public why science is important. So that is also our job.